Right now, as you settle into the quiet of your evening, radio waves from distant stars are passing through your body. Signals from pulsars, quasars, and phenomena we haven't even discovered yet are flowing through you like an invisible river of information, undetected and unheard. But on August 15, 1977, at 10:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one particular radio signal arrived at Earth that was different from all the others. For exactly 72 seconds, a narrow beam of radio waves, stronger than anything naturally produced, swept across a small radio telescope in Delaware County, Ohio. The signal was so unusual, so perfectly structured, that when astronomer Jerry Ehman saw the data printout days later, he circled it in red pen and wrote a single word in the margin: "Wow." This is the story of the WOW signal, the strongest candidate we've ever detected for an extraterrestrial transmission. Despite decades of searching, it has never repeated. Despite exhaustive analysis, it has never been explained. Despite numerous theories, it remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Perhaps you've heard of it, that legendary moment when we might have heard from the stars. Or perhaps this is your first encounter with the 72 seconds that changed how we think about our cosmic loneliness. Tonight, we're going to explore not just what the signal was, but what it means that we heard it once and never again. So let your mind drift out beyond Earth's atmosphere, past the radio chatter of our civilization, into the vast silence where one signal, one time, said something we're still trying to understand. To understand the WOW signal, we need to understand where and how it was detected. The Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University was not a dish like most people imagine when they think of radio telescopes. It was a strange rectangular structure, looking more like an aluminum sports field with a roof than a traditional telescope. Built in 1963, Big Ear was a Krauss-type radio telescope, consisting of a flat reflector that could be tilted, a fixed parabolic reflector, and a receiver. It worked like a giant ear, hence the name, collecting radio waves from space and focusing them onto detectors. The telescope couldn't move to track objects. Instead, it relied on Earth's rotation to sweep the sky like a lighthouse beam in reverse. By 1977, Big Ear had been searching for extraterrestrial signals for 4 years as part of the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence program. The telescope was largely automated, recording data continuously as Earth rotated, bringing new sections of sky into view. The data was printed out on continuous paper, creating mountains of numbers that volunteers would later examine for anything unusual. The telescope observed at 1,420 megahertz, the frequency of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. Scientists reasoned that any intelligent civilization would recognize this as a universal landmark in the radio spectrum, a cosmic meeting point where different intelligences might try to communicate. That summer night in Ohio was unremarkable. The telescope operated automatically, its receivers collecting radio waves from the constellation Sagittarius as Earth's rotation brought it into view. No one was present at the observatory. The equipment ran alone, printing its data onto paper that would accumulate for days before anyone looked at it. The telescope's beam was narrow. It could only observe a small patch of sky at any given moment. As Earth rotated, any celestial source would drift through this beam, creating a characteristic rise and fall in signal strength over exactly 72 seconds. This was the telescope's window, 72 seconds to catch any message from the stars. At 10:16 p.m., as the telescope pointed toward the western edge of Sagittarius, near the star group Chi Sagittarii, something extraordinary happened. A signal appeared that was unlike anything the telescope had detected before or would detect again. It wasn't until August 19th, 4 days later, that Jerry Ehman, a volunteer astronomer working with the SETI project, sat down to review the accumulated data. Ehman was experienced in reading the printouts, endless columns of numbers and letters representing the strength of radio signals from space. The computer system used a simple code, blank spaces for the weakest signals, numbers 1-9 for increasing strength, and letters AZ for the strongest signals. Most of the printout showed the expected pattern, mostly blanks and low numbers, representing the random radio noise of the universe. But then Ehman saw something that made him stop, the sequence 6EQJ5, a signal that started moderately strong, rose to an incredible peak at U over 30 times the background noise, then fell away again. The pattern matched exactly what they would expect from an extraterrestrial signal, a narrow band transmission that rose and fell as it passed through the telescope's beam. Ehman circled the sequence and wrote "Wow" in red pen, a spontaneous expression of amazement that would name one of the most famous mysteries in astronomy. The "Wow" signal had several characteristics that made it exceptional. Narrow bandwidth. The signal was extremely narrow in frequency, less than 10 kHz wide. Natural cosmic sources produce broad-spectrum radio noise across many frequencies. Only technology, or at least only technology as we understand it, produces such narrow band signals. Incredible strength. At its peak, the signal was 30 times stronger than the background noise. This is remarkable because space is full of radio noise from natural sources. For a signal to stand out so clearly suggested either enormous power at the source or relatively close proximity. The 72-second window. The signal's duration matched exactly what astronomers expected from a celestial source passing through Big Ear's beam. It rose and fell in intensity precisely as it should if it came from beyond Earth. This ruled out terrestrial interference, which would have a different profile. The hydrogen line. The signal was detected at approximately 1420.456 MHz, extremely close to the hydrogen line at 1420.405 MHz. This frequency is significant because hydrogen is the most common element in the universe. Scientists have long speculated that extraterrestrial intelligences might broadcast at this frequency as a universal calling card. Several factors ruled out an Earth-based origin. Protected frequency. The hydrogen line frequency is protected by international agreement. No one on Earth is allowed to broadcast at this frequency to avoid interfering with radio astronomy. While illegal broadcasts happen, they're usually quickly identified and stopped. Signal profile. The rise and fall of the signal exactly matched the telescope's beam pattern. A terrestrial signal would appear suddenly at full strength and disappear just as suddenly, not fade in and out over 72 seconds. Direction. The signal came from a fixed point in the sky. As Earth rotated, the source passed through the telescope's beam exactly as a star would. A satellite or aircraft would move differently relative to the telescope. No modulation. The signal contained no obvious modulation or information. It was just a pure tone. Most human-made signals carry information through modulation. When Ehman showed the signal to John Krause, the director of the observatory, and Bob Dixon, the assistant director, they immediately recognized its significance. Here was exactly the kind of signal SETI had been designed to find. They tried to observe the same spot again, but Big Ear's design made immediate follow-up impossible. The telescope had two feed horns that observed slightly different areas of sky in sequence. If a signal appeared in one horn, it should appear in the other horn about 3 minutes later. The "Wow" signal appeared in one horn but not the other, adding to its mystery. Within days, other observatories were notified. The Ohio State team began extensive follow-up observations, returning to the same coordinates night after night. But the signal never returned. The most frustrating aspect of the "Wow" signal is that it never repeated. In science, repetition is crucial for verification. A signal detected once could be equipment malfunction, statistical fluke, or misinterpretation. A signal detected repeatedly can be studied, analyzed, and understood. For months after the discovery, Big Ear returned to the same coordinates whenever possible. The team spent over 100 hours observing the exact spot where the signal originated. They expanded their search to nearby areas, thinking the source might have moved. They observed at different times, considering that the signal might be periodic. Nothing. The cosmic silence was absolute. Other observatories joined the search. The Very Large Array in New Mexico, far more powerful than Big Ear, spent hours looking for any trace of the signal. The Meta Array at Harvard, specifically designed for SETI observations, found nothing. Radio telescopes around the world pointed at the WOW signal's coordinates. All heard only the normal background hiss of the universe. The WOW signal's position uncertainty created challenges. Big Ear could determine that the signal came from a small region in the constellation Sagittarius, but couldn't pinpoint it exactly. The uncertainty box covered an area about twice the size of the full moon as seen from Earth, small by cosmic standards but containing thousands of stars. Within this region, astronomers identified several interesting candidates. Chi Sagittarius star group, a collection of stars about 220 light-years from Earth. These stars are similar to our Sun, making them interesting targets for SETI searches, but detailed observations found no planets and no further signals. 2 mass 19281982 mass 2640123. A Sun-like star about 1,800 light-years away, identified in later surveys as being in the right position. If the signal came from here, it would need to be incredibly powerful to reach us so strongly. Proxima Sagittaria. Not to be confused with Proxima Centauri, this is a distant star that happens to lie in the signal's direction. However, it's too far and too faint to be a likely source. The problem is that without knowing the exact position and distance of the source, we can't determine how powerful it was. A weak transmitter nearby would look the same as a powerful transmitter far away. Scientists prefer natural explanations to artificial ones, following the principle of Occam's razor. Various natural phenomena were considered pulsars. These rotating neutron stars emit regular radio pulses, but pulsars produce broad-spectrum signals, not narrow-band ones, and they pulse regularly. The WOW signal showed no pulsation. Pulsars. Active galactic nuclei can produce powerful radio emissions, but like pulsars, they emit across broad frequencies and would have been detected in follow-up observations. Stellar flares. Some stars produce radio bursts during flares, but these are broad-spectrum and typically much weaker than the WOW signal. Interstellar scintillation. The interstellar medium can focus radio waves like a lens, temporarily amplifying weak signals, but this effect doesn't explain the narrow bandwidth or the failure to detect the source in follow-up observations. Gravitational lensing. Massive objects can bend and focus radio waves, but this would require perfect alignment and doesn't explain why the signal never repeated when the alignment should persist for years. In 2016, astronomer Antonio Paris proposed that the WOW signal might have been caused by comets. Specifically, he suggested that two comets, 266P/Christensen and 335P/Gibbs, which were in the right area of sky in 1977, could have produced the signal. The theory suggests that hydrogen clouds around the comets could have emitted at the hydrogen line frequency. As the comets moved through Big Ear's beam, they could have created the observed signal profile. This hypothesis attracted attention, but also criticism. Supporting points. Comets do release hydrogen. The comets were in approximately the right position. It explains why the signal never repeated from the same spot. Problems. Comets have never been observed producing signals this strong. The emission would be broad, not narrow band. Other comets should produce similar signals, but don't. The original researchers reject this explanation, despite the evidence against it. Some suggest sophisticated terrestrial interference, secret military transmissions. Perhaps a classified military satellite or aircraft was testing equipment at the hydrogen line frequency. Despite regulations, the Cold War was ongoing, and secret tests weren't uncommon. Reflection, or refraction, may be an Earth-based signal bounced off space debris, an aircraft, or atmospheric layers in just the right way to mimic a celestial source. Equipment malfunction. Perhaps Big Ear experienced a one-time equipment glitch that created the illusion of a signal, but this seems unlikely, given the specific characteristics that match theoretical predictions. The most exciting but least provable explanation is that the WOW signal was exactly what it appeared to be, a transmission from an extraterrestrial intelligence, intentional beacon. An alien civilization might broadcast a powerful beacon at the hydrogen line frequency, knowing that other intelligent species would be listening there. The signal's characteristics match what SETI scientists predicted such a beacon would look like: accidental detection. We might have accidentally intercepted communication between alien vessels or installations. The signal wasn't meant for us, but happened to pass through our line of sight. One-time event. Perhaps we caught a unique event, the launch of an interstellar probe, an industrial accident, or a deliberate attempt to contact Earth that was never repeated for unknown reasons. The zoo hypothesis. Some suggest advanced civilizations might test emerging species with one-time signals to gauge their response. Our failure to respond appropriately might have ended the test. The wow signal profoundly influenced how we search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Verification protocols. SETI developed better protocols for signal verification, including immediate notification systems and coordinated follow-up observations. Continuous coverage. The incident highlighted the need for continuous sky coverage. If Big Ear had been able to observe continuously instead of relying on Earth's rotation, we might have detected a repeat. Multiple frequencies. While the hydrogen line remains important, SETI expanded to monitor multiple frequencies simultaneously, recording everything. Modern SETI projects record raw data, not just processed results, allowing for later reanalysis with better techniques. Global cooperation. The wow signal demonstrated the need for international cooperation in SETI, leading to better coordination between observatories. The wow signal relates directly to the Fermi paradox. If the universe is full of intelligent life, why haven't we found evidence of it? The signal could be interpreted either way. Supporting contact. It might be our first detection of alien intelligence, suggesting they're out there but rare, or difficult to detect. Deepening the mystery. If it was artificial, why only once? Why no follow-up? It makes the silence even more puzzling. The signal embodies the paradox, tantalizing evidence that leads nowhere, a cosmic tease that raises more questions than it answers. Some scientists use the wow signal to support the rare Earth hypothesis, that complex life is extremely rare in the universe. If intelligent civilizations were common, we should detect many signals, not just one ambiguous case. The wow signal might be important, precisely because it's unique. It shows how rare detectable civilizations might be. Alternatively, it might indicate that civilizations broadcast only briefly in their development, making detection incredibly unlikely. This brief window hypothesis suggests we need to be extremely lucky to catch a civilization during its radio loud phase. The wow signal raises profound philosophical questions. The nature of evidence. What constitutes sufficient evidence for extraterrestrial intelligence? If the signal repeated once, would that be enough? Twice? 100 times? The burden of proof. Should we assume the signal was natural until proven artificial, or vice versa? How do we investigate something that happened once and never again? The value of ambiguity. Perhaps the signal's ambiguity is valuable. It keeps the question open, maintains wonder, and drives continued searching. Cosmic loneliness. The signal's isolation, one possible contact in decades of searching, emphasizes our cosmic loneliness. Are we alone, or are others so rare that contact is nearly impossible? To truly appreciate the wow signal, we need to understand how radio astronomy works. Radio waves from space are incredibly weak by the time they reach Earth. The total energy collected by all radio telescopes in history is less than the energy of a single snowflake hitting the ground. Detecting signals requires enormous sensitivity and sophisticated processing. Big Ear worked by collecting radio waves across its large reflector surface and focusing them onto a receiver. The receiver converted radio waves into electrical signals, which were amplified and processed by computers. The output was a measure of signal strength at specific frequencies. The telescope's fixed design meant it could only observe each point in the sky for those crucial 72 seconds each day as Earth rotated. This limitation was both a weakness, making follow-up difficult, and a strength, providing a clear signature for celestial sources. The choice of 1420 MHz for SETI observations wasn't arbitrary. This frequency corresponds to the hyperfine transition of neutral hydrogen, when a hydrogen atom's electron flips its spin relative to the proton's spin. This transition is universal. Hydrogen is everywhere. Unique? No other element produces this exact frequency. Penetrating. Radio waves at this frequency pass through dust and gas. Quiet. There's little natural noise at this frequency. It's the cosmic equivalent of a quiet spot at a loud party, a natural place for different intelligences to meet and communicate. The WOW signal's technical characteristics provide clues about its nature. Bandwidth, less than 10 kHz wide, possibly much narrower. Big Ear couldn't measure bandwidth smaller than 10 kHz, so the actual signal might have been even more narrow band. Frequency drift. The signal showed no measurable frequency drift during its 72-second detection. This is unusual. Most celestial sources show some drift due to relative motion, polarization. Unfortunately, Big Ear couldn't measure polarizations. This information might have helped identify the signal's source or nature. Modulation. No modulation was detected, meaning the signal carried no obvious information. It was just a pure carrier wave. The WOW signal quickly transcended astronomy to become a cultural phenomenon. Science fiction. Countless stories have been inspired by the signal, from novels where it's the first contact with aliens to films where it's a warning or invitation. Music. Electronic musicians have incorporated the signal into compositions. Some have even transmitted music back to the signal's coordinates. Art. The simple notation, 6EQJ5, has become iconic, appearing in installations, paintings, and digital art as a symbol of cosmic mystery. Internet culture. The signal has spawned memes, conspiracy theories, and endless speculation in online forums. The WOW signal became a powerful tool for science communication, public engagement. It's one of the few SETI results the public knows about, making it valuable for explaining radio astronomy and the search for extraterrestrial life. Funding argument. The signal has been used to argue both for more SETI funding. We might be close to contact in less decades of searching found only one ambiguous signal. Educational tool. The signal teaches multiple concepts: radio astronomy, the scientific method, the importance of verification, and the challenges of interpreting limited data. The reply messages. In 2012, on the 35th anniversary of the signal, humanity responded. The Arecibo Observatory transmitted a reply toward the signal's coordinates, including Twitter messages from the public, videos about human culture, scientific data about Earth music and art. The transmission was both symbolic and practical. If someone is listening at the signal's source, they'll receive our reply around the year 2037, assuming the source is about 25 light-years away. The largest SETI project in history, Breakthrough Listen, has repeatedly observed the WOW and signal's coordinates with unprecedented sensitivity. Green Bank Telescope, this 100-meter dish, far more sensitive than Big Ear, has spent dozens of hours on the WOW and coordinates. Parkes Telescope, from the Southern Hemisphere. This telescope provides a different perspective on the signal region. Automated systems. Modern AI systems analyze the data in real time, looking for patterns humans might miss. Results so far: nothing. The cosmic silence continues. Modern SETI has evolved beyond just looking for narrowband signals. Optical SETI, searching for laser pulses that might carry messages. Techno-signatures, looking for signs of technology like Dyson spheres or industrial pollution in exoplanet atmospheres. Wideband searches. Some scientists think advanced civilizations might use spread spectrum techniques that look like noise unless you know the encoding. Gravitational waves. Could advanced civilizations manipulate gravitational waves for communication? The 500-meter aperture spherical telescope, FAST in China, the world's largest single-dish radio telescope, has also observed the WOW and signal's coordinates. With its enormous sensitivity, FAST could detect signals far weaker than what Big Ear could see. Still nothing. This non-detection is itself informative. Either the signal was a one-time event. The source has gone silent. The signal was much stronger in 1977, for unknown reasons. It was never there at all. I first learned about the WOW and signal in a dusty astronomy book in my high school library. The image of that computer printout with WOW written in the margin captured my imagination immediately. Here was potential proof that we're not alone. Sitting in a filing cabinet in Ohio, what struck me wasn't just the signal itself, but the human story around it. Jerry Ehman's spontaneous exclamation, the frantic follow-up observations, the decades of searching that followed. It's a story of hope and frustration, of tantalizing possibility and maddening absence. Over the years, I've come to appreciate the WOW and signal's ambiguity. In a world where mysteries are quickly solved by Google searches, here's something that remains genuinely unknown. We can't go back and re-observe it. We can't experiment on it. We can only wonder. This ambiguity is scientifically frustrating, but philosophically rich. It forces us to confront the limits of knowledge, the challenge of interpreting unique events, the difficulty of proving absence. There, quote, something deeply emotional about the WOW signal. For 72 seconds, we might have been not alone. For 72 seconds, the universe might have been calling. The fact that it never called again makes it more poignant, not less. It's like a message in a bottle that washes ashore once and never again. Did someone throw it? Was it meant for us? Or was it just a peculiar piece of driftwood that happened to look like a bottle? Some fringe theorists suggest the WOW signal might be from human time travelers attempting to communicate with their past. The signal's characteristics could be designed to attract attention without violating causality. This is pure speculation without scientific basis, but it illustrates how the signal captures imagination and generates creative explanations. If we live in a simulation, the WOW signal could be a glitch in the matrix, a message from outside the simulation, a test by the simulators, an Easter egg for us to find again. This is philosophy, not science, but it shows how the signal connects to broader existential questions. Perhaps the signal came not from distant stars but from parallel dimensions, briefly accessible through some cosmic alignment. The failure to repeat could be because the dimensional gateway closed. While this sounds like science fiction, some interpretations of quantum mechanics do suggest parallel universes. Could the WOW signal be interdimensional crosstalk? Some New Age thinkers propose the signal was created by collective human consciousness, a psychic projection of our desire for contact. The fact that it appeared just as SETI was gaining momentum is seen as significant. Scientists reject this completely, but it reflects how deeply the signal has penetrated popular consciousness. If we somehow confirmed the WOW signal was extraterrestrial, scientific revolution, every field from biology to philosophy would be transformed. We'd know we're not alone. Technological hunt. We'd desperately try to understand their technology, possibly advancing our own capabilities. Cultural shock. Religions, philosophies and worldviews would need to adapt to cosmic company. Political implications. Who speaks for Earth? How do we respond? The UN has protocols, but they're untested. Economic effects. Everything from stock markets to space funding would shift dramatically. The WOW signal coordinates remain a priority target for SETI. Regular monitoring. Major telescopes check the coordinates regularly. New instruments. Each new radio telescope adds the coordinates to its target list. Citizen science. Amateur astronomers with increasingly sophisticated equipment join the search. Data mining. Old observations are reanalyzed with new techniques, looking for missed signals. In 2027, will mark 50 years since the WOW signal. Plans are already being discussed. Global observation campaign. Telescopes worldwide will simultaneously observe the coordinates. Public engagement. Museums and planetariums will feature exhibitions about the signal. Scientific conferences. Researchers will gather to discuss what we've learned and what remains mysterious. Cultural events. Artists, musicians, and writers will interpret the signal's meaning. As we prepare to close this exploration, consider the silence that surrounds the WOW signal. For 72 seconds, something spoke, then silence for nearly 50 years, and counting. This silence isn't empty but pregnant with possibility. Every moment could bring a repeat. Every observation could be the one that solves the mystery. The silence holds infinite potential. The WOW signal belongs to everyone. No one owns it. No one fully understands it. Everyone can wonder about it. It's democracy's gift to curiosity, a mystery that treats Nobel laureates and children with equal indifference. You now carry this wonder. You're part of the community that knows about the 72 seconds, that shares the question, that waits for answers that may never come. The universe operates on scales that dwarf human patience. If the signal was sent from 200 light-years away, the senders have been waiting 200 years for our reply. If we sent a response, it won't arrive for another 200 years. This cosmic patience is humbling. We want immediate answers, instant gratification, quick resolution. The universe offers 72 seconds in 50 years, and asks us to find meaning in that ratio. Signal is a gift, not because it answers questions but because it asks them. It reminds us that the universe exceeds our understanding, that mystery persists despite our technology, that wonder survives in an age of information. This gift has no expiration date. Stusia remains fresh, whether you learned about it today or have wondered about it for decades. The WOW signal represents 72 seconds out of the 13.8 billion years of cosmic history. It's a fleeting moment, a cosmic eye blink, a whisper in the vast silence, yet it might be the most important 72 seconds in human history, or it might be nothing at all. This uncertainty is the signal's true message, not we are here, or you are not alone, but you don't know. It's the universe reminding us of our ignorance, our limitations, our need for humility. How we respond to the WOW signal says more about us than about the signal. Our hope that we're not alone, our fear that we are, our need for meaning, our desire for connection, our frustration with ambiguity, our persistence despite failure. The signal is a mirror, reflecting human nature as much as a window into cosmic possibility. Right now, radio telescopes around the world are listening. Computers are analyzing billions of frequencies. Scientists are developing new search strategies. The search continues not because of the WOW signal but because of what it represents, the possibility of connection across the cosmic dark. You're part of this search now. You know about the 72 seconds. You carry the question. You share the wonder. Each of us carries our own WOW signals, moments of clarity or connection that never repeat, experiences that touch us once and vanish, leaving only memory and wonder. The cosmic WOW signal reminds us that the universe itself has such moments. Perhaps that's the signal's true significance, not as potential proof of extraterrestrial intelligence, but as validation of the momentary, the unique, the unrepeatable. Some things happen once and never again, and that's okay. Their singularity is their meaning. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you might dream of signals from the stars. In dreams, the WOW signal repeats, reveals its meaning, connects us to cosmic intelligence. Dreams operate on their own frequency, receiving transmissions that waking consciousness misses. Let your dreams tune to 1420 megahertz, the hydrogen frequency, the universal meeting place. You might hear what Big Ear heard, understand what Jerry Ehman circled, know what we've wondered about for decades. As consciousness fades, send your own signal into the cosmic dark, not through radio waves but through wonder. curiosity, openness to mystery. You don't need a telescope to participate in SETI. You just need to wonder whether we're alone. The WOW signal asked a question that echoes still. Is anyone there? To your wonder is part of humanity's answer. We're here, we're listening, we're ready. Sleep now, knowing that somewhere in Sagittarius, 72 seconds of mystery waits. It might be nothing, a cosmic coincidence, a statistical fluke, a misunderstanding, or it might be everything. First contact, cosmic company, the end of loneliness. Either way it happened. For 72 seconds the universe said something that made a human write, "Wow," in red pen. That's enough for wonder. That's enough for dreams. The signal sleeps in silence. You sleep in wonder. The mystery continues. The universe whispers, "Wow." One of the most puzzling aspects of the WOW signal involves Big Ear's dual horn design. The telescope had two feed horns that observed adjacent areas of sky, separated by a few minutes as Earth rotated. Any celestial source should have appeared in both horns, creating two detections separated by about 3 minutes. The WOW signal appeared in only one horn. This creates several possibilities. The source turned off during those 3 minutes. The source was highly directional, and Earth moved out of its beam. The signal was somehow related to the telescope itself. Something about the second horn failed to detect it. Dr. John Krauss, Big Ear's designer, spent months analyzing this problem. He checked the equipment logs, tested both horns, reviewed the circuitry. Everything was working perfectly. The second horn should have detected the signal but didn't. This single horn detection has never been satisfactorily explained. If the signal was extraterrestrial, it suggests either incredible timing, turning off at just the right moment, or a beam so narrow that Earth passed through it in less than 3 minutes. Both possibilities seem unlikely, but not impossible. The WOW signal's frequency presents another puzzle. It was detected at 1420.456 MHz, about 50 kHz above the actual hydrogen line at 1420.405 MHz. This offset is small but significant. Several explanations have been proposed. Doppler shift. If the source was moving relative to Earth, the frequency would shift. The observed offset suggests a velocity of about 10 km per s toward Earth. This is reasonable for a star or planet in our galaxy. Gravitational redshift. If the signal originated near a massive object, gravitational effects could shift the frequency. But the shift is too small for this, unless the source was near a normal star. Intentional offset. Perhaps the senders deliberately transmitted slightly off the hydrogen line to make their signal stand out from natural hydrogen emissions. Measurement error. Big Ear's frequency resolution was limited. The actual frequency might have been closer to the hydrogen line. The precision required to transmit so close to the hydrogen line suggests sophisticated technology and intentional design. If the signal was artificial. Estimating the signal's power depends on knowing its distance, which remains unknown. However, we can make calculations for various scenarios. If from Proxima Centauri 4.2 light-years, the transmitter would need about 2.2 gigawatts of power, assuming isotropic radiation. This is comparable to a large nuclear power plant. If the signal was beamed directly at Earth, much less power would be required. If from 100 light-years, the power requirement jumps to about 1,000 terawatts for isotropic transmission. This exceeds Earth's total power generation. However, a directed beam could reduce this by factors of millions. If from 1,000 light-years, we're talking about stellar-scale power generation, possibly using a significant fraction of a star's energy output. This would suggest a Kardashev Type II civilization. These calculations assume the signal was intentional. If it was leakage from alien technology, the power requirements would be even more staggering. To understand the impact of the WOW signal, we need to understand SETI's status in 1977. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence was transitioning from fringe science to legitimate research. Project Ozma in 1960 had started the radio search. Project Cyclops in 1971 had provided a theoretical framework, but no government funding existed for SETI. Big Ear's SETI program was entirely volunteer-run, operating on a shoestring budget. The telescope time was donated because it wasn't needed for other research. The computer processing was done on Ohio State University's excess capacity. Volunteers like Jerry Ehman analyzed data in their spare time. The scientific community was divided. Some saw SETI as visionary science that could answer humanity's biggest question. Others saw it as wishful thinking that wasted resources. The WOW signal changed this dynamic, providing SETI with its first potentially real detection. 1977 was deep in the Cold War. The space race had ended, but military satellites filled the sky. Both superpowers had extensive classified space programs. This context affected how people interpreted the WOW signal, classified technology. Some suspected the signal was from a secret military satellite. The frequency choice, signal strength, and one-time nature could indicate a classified test, Soviet activity. The signal came from the sky's direction visible from the Soviet Union. Could it be Soviet technology? The Russians were known to be interested in SETI. Nuclear war fears. Some worried that confirming extraterrestrial intelligence might destabilize the Cold War balance. What if one side made contact first? Cover-up theories. The lack of government interest seemed suspicious to some. Was the signal already known to intelligence agencies? These Cold War tensions added layers of complexity to investigating the signal. Just 1 year before the WOW signal, Viking 1 and Viking 2 had landed on Mars, searching for life. The results were ambiguous and controversial. Some experiments suggested biological activity, others didn't. This context made the WOW signal more significant. If life existed on Mars, intelligent life elsewhere seemed more probable. The signal arrived at a moment when humanity was actively questioning its cosmic solitude. Discovered in 2007, fast radio bursts are millisecond duration radio pulses from deep space. They share some characteristics with the WOW signal: strong radio emission, mysterious origin. Most don't repeat, but FRBs are different, much shorter duration, milliseconds versus 72 seconds. Broad frequency spread versus narrow band. Extragalactic origin versus possibly local. Some do repeat. FRBs show that the universe produces mysterious radio signals naturally. Could the WOW signal be a related phenomenon we don't yet understand? In 2020, Breakthrough Listen detected a narrowband signal from the direction of Proxima Centauri. Like the WOW signal, narrow bandwidth, near a significant frequency technological appearance, generated excitement. Unlike the WOW signal, it repeated multiple times. It was eventually traced to human interference. It was thoroughly documented with modern equipment. BLC, one's resolution as interference, shows how careful SETI must be, but also highlights what makes the WOW signal special. It still hasn't been explained as interference. The alphanumeric sequence, 6EQG5, has been analyzed countless times. Each character represents intensity over a 10-second integration period. Big Ear sampled every 10 seconds. The sequence shows 6 moderate signal, 6 times background, E rising signal, 14 times background, Q strong signal, 26 times background, U peak signal, 30 times background, G declining signal, 19 times background, 5 fading signal, 5 times background. Source passing through the telescope's beam. The symmetry is remarkable, too perfect for random noise, too consistent with predictions to dismiss. Jerry Ehman, who discovered the signal, became an unwitting celebrity in SETI circles. A volunteer with a PhD in astronomy, he was analyzing data as a favor to the project. His spontaneous WOW notation made him forever linked to the mystery. In interviews, Ehman has been remarkably balanced. He doesn't claim it was definitely extraterrestrial, but he's convinced it wasn't terrestrial interference. He spent decades defending the detection's legitimacy, while cautioning against overinterpretation. Ehman continued working in SETI, developing better analysis techniques and training new volunteers. He's given hundreds of talks about the signal, each time reliving that moment of discovery. In his 80s now, he still hopes for an explanation before he dies. John Krause, who built Big Ear, dedicated his later career to understanding the WOW signal. He wrote detailed technical papers, pursued every lead, and defended the detection against skeptics. Tragically, Big Ear was demolished in 1998 to make way for a golf course expansion. Krause fought to save it, arguing that the site of the WOW signal detection should be preserved. He lost. The telescope that might have detected extraterrestrial intelligence was destroyed for a recreational facility. Krause died in 2004, never knowing what his telescope had heard. His final papers still discussed the signal, still hoped for resolution. Bob Dixon's continuing search. Bob Dixon, Big Ear's assistant director, has spent 40+ years searching for the signal's source. He's developed new search strategies, coordinated observations, and maintained the most comprehensive database of WOW signal information. Dixon pioneered the Argus concept, an array of small dishes that could monitor the entire sky continuously, preventing another one-time signal from being missed. While never fully built, Argus influenced modern SETI designs. Now in his 80s, Dixon still analyzes data, still checks the WOW coordinates, still hopes. The WOW signal taps into deep psychological needs, cosmic loneliness. Humans fear being alone. The possibility of cosmic companions is comforting, meaning-making. Contact with aliens would give human existence cosmic significance. Wonder preservation. In an increasingly explained world, mystery maintains wonder. Unity fantasy. Alien contact might unite humanity against a common other. Escape possibility. If others survive technological adolescence, maybe we will too. These psychological factors influence how people interpret ambiguous evidence. The WOW signal becomes a Rorschach test for cosmic hopes and fears.